the next segment or the first segment.
Sure. Okay.
Here we go.
So,
Okay.
And did we mention Latinos? Latinos are all flavors, shapes, and sizes. You don't have to be Latino to enjoy chips and salsa.
Welcome to the Chips and Salsa Show. This is Jorge El Alacran. With we don't have Alice today. She's traveling to New Mexico, and she'll be here next week. And we will. I'll be here, and she'll be here today. We have our guest, the Reverend Clyde Bowen, and I'll be introducing him in a few minutes. And we have also challenging Representative Raul Grijalva from Tucson and beyond, Edna San Miguel, running for Senate, and she'll be our guest in the later segment. So we want to do a shout out to Divine Dion is on stage today, or in studio today, visiting us. She works a lot, so she handles the social media and Facebook. And we have our always secret Sonia, the associate producer and Twitter and multitasker, our Facebook filmer. And she's, if you're on Facebook, you're watching it courtesy of Sonia Salsa S. Or no, that's the YouTube. The YouTube, we're under Sonia Salsa S. And Facebook is on Facebook live streaming on the Chips and Salsa Show. And, of course, we're on the centralcityradio.com, King FM. And with our board op, Julian, who's always behind the board and manning all the operations through the radio. So tune in to our app, Central City Radio, www.centralcityradio.com, King FM. King FM is the link, and you'll see all our podcasts on there. And this will be a great show today. And let's see, what else? We ask you to say your prayers for. Oh, she's running for Congress, not Senate. Oh well, same thing. It's in Washington. Well, it's a little different, but it's a yeah. She's running for Congress. So thank you for the correction. We want to say our prayers for the people in Texas. Hope that they heal and they come out of this horrific storm Harvey that they had out there, and a lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people are still underwater, and the Red Cross, Coast Guard, all the first responders are helping. It's a big task out there. We can't forget our friends in Puerto Rico that went through the Irma hurricane just recently. We heard from our fellow reporter out there, Ruben. Oh, anyway, he's I got his name mixed up here, but anyway, he reported yesterday that Puerto Rico got the side of the hurricane. So actually, when he filmed it on his Facebook, you could see the homes and the blocks. They weren't underwater, but they had no electricity. And in Puerto Rico, if you don't have electricity, you are in deep, you know what, your refrigerator, everything. So they're struggling out there, and they're talking maybe a month or more without electricity. And it's an island, so they're really dependent on the electricity company out there. And apparently they've lost electricity, and I think they're trying hard to get back, but according to Ruben, they're really struggling hard. So let's pray for the people out there. I know they're on Puerto Rico declared bankruptcy, so I don't know. They don't have the money and the funds. I don't know what's going on. All we could do is just pray for them to come through it. They're not underwater, but they're without electricity, which is just as bad. Now, we need to pray for the people in Florida because the hurricane's about ready to hit. By tomorrow morning, the hurricane will reach the mainland. It's already starting to reach the mainland, the islands, and they're expecting a Category 5. And even if it's a Category 4, it's bad because you have not only the winds, the rain, but tornadoes and stuff that come out of that. We have to really pray for those people. They're going to get hit hard, and it's the size of Texas, and it's hitting Florida. So imagine, a lot of people have left, a lot of people have gone to higher ground, but still, there's homes, there's businesses. This is going to be the mother of all hurricanes hitting them. Hopefully, this pray that it diminishes a little bit and it doesn't hit them so hard. But we all have to have our prayers, Florida, and our prayers, and we're citizens. Not Republicans, not Democrats, not independents, not nothing, but citizens. Citizens helping citizens. Americans helping Americans. This is on our homeland. And we did pray like that in Texas. I think prayers help. Prayers, and the Reverend, when he comes on board, he's going to tell you too. Prayers mean so much. And you might not think of it as a big deal, but prayers are something, everybody should pray for everybody. We come together as a nation. We come together as human beings, helping each other. And you see that in these hurricanes. These people, you can't tell if they're Democrats, Republicans, Independents. They're all helping each other. They're all trying for the... Yeah, you'll see a couple of looters and stuff, but that's very rare. It's people helping people. Mm-hmm. And people need to come together in times like this. Congregations, religious congregations, the Red Cross, and all the first responders, they all come together as one, helping people. And yeah, you might not say, well, nobody's helping me, pray. Prayer is so important because you can help somebody else, and before you know it, somebody else is helping you. So let's all pray for the victims of these hurricanes. And there's another one coming down the road, but I don't think it's going to be as bad, but it's coming down, and who knows where that's going to hit. So this is hurricane season, and so we know it's coming. So I'm going to introduce right now our guest. I'm bringing him a little earlier, so we're going to have a lot of time with the Reverend Clyde Bowen. And then later on we'll bring the candidate Edna San Miguel for Congress. Okay, I want to say a couple of words about the Reverend here. We got 1 minute. Okay. The Reverend Clyde Bowen has been the chairman of the Arizona American African Republican Committee since 2005. He is a recipient of the AZGOP Abraham Lincoln Award, and that's a hard award to get. The Reverend Bowen has served our country as a USAF for 10 years, military police veteran. That's the Air Force, right?
Yes.
And he was a SWAT team leader. Hey, I feel safer now, and was chosen out of 10,000 applicants to represent the United States at the American Embassy in Oslo, Norway. And I'll read more about his resume here, and when we come back, stay tuned for the Chips and Salsa show. Don't leave us. We'll be right back. Now, for our friends on Facebook, I'm gonna take up this time to say that we all have to come together as a nation. And on YouTube, I know you're watching us on YouTube live. I want to be able to tell you that we at the Chips and Salsa show and at centralcityradio.com do support all our veterans and support all our first responders out there that are coming together to help in one way or the other. There's collections going across this state of ours. They're collecting food supplies, they're collecting diapers, they're collecting water. We all want everybody to be involved. If you don't have to actually go to Texas, you don't have to, if you don't have the money to send to Texas, you don't have to do that. Volunteer to go to one of the sites, and if you have, within your ability to donate something like water, or if you have money to donate, they'll take money too, but and that money will go to just causes, okay? And if you have diapers, if you're a company that has diapers and stuff, and you want to donate some of the stuff for the needy people in Texas, and even to be sent to San Juan if we have a plane that goes out there, or to Florida, definitely to Florida, and all the other states that are going to be hit by this, because it's not only Florida, it's other states that are going to be hit by this. So if you could donate, and I know a lot of you are watching us on YouTube and Facebook, give up some of your time or become part of the movement of donation. Go to the nearest donation site, and I'm sure the Clyde Bowen the Reverend will probably talk about some type of donation or another. So be part of that. Again, this is a break that we usually take. It's a commercial break for the radio station, but we'll come right back and join it with our regular programming. So stay tuned. don't go anywhere. You'll be seeing us on the background, but we'll be just talking a little bit here. Just
all right, 1 minute. 1 minute.
We have 1 minute, so stay tuned, people. Okay, so I'm going to finish the introduction, and then I'll shoot it right to you.
Okay.
Is there something you want to...
Yeah, I actually wrote a prayer for Houston at the time in the surrounding areas, and it's more than apropos now.
Okay.
So in a way of sort of an invocation, we're going to actually pray to the people and pray for transformation. And I know it can happen because it happened in my hometown, so I have a personal dog in this race also.
Okay. I'll just finish this piece right here,
Sure,
and then I'm gonna turn it to you, and we'll do the invocation, and then go from there. Okay?
Okay, excellent. I did want to touch on, of course, what the ARC is up to, and then also talking about flaming the Democrats. You know, Margaret Sanger, the day that she died in Tucson, of all places, she passed away, and they want to take her bust out of the Smithsonian Institute because of her relationship to Planned Parenthood.
Stand by. We're going back in.
I got a couple of things to touch on.
You got it. Welcome back to your Chips and Salsa show, and I say your because this program belongs to you, the people. Welcome back to your Chips and Salsa show with Jorge El Alacran, and manning the boards are famous Julian Ellison, owner and operator of the Central City Radio.
World famous.
And world famous. And then we have Sonia Salsa S, as you can see her on YouTube, filming us on Facebook Live. And we're on YouTube Live. We're all over the place live. And on radio under centralcityradio.com, King FM. Now, I'm just going to finish my bio for the Reverend, and I'll introduce you to the Reverend. He is a past president of Scottsdale Western Sages Toastmasters. The Reverend Bowen was a volunteer of the year for both Greater Phoenix Youth at Risk Foundation, and that's a great foundation, and now New Pathways, and the Sun Sounds of Arizona, a reading service for print disabled. Oh, that's great. I commend you for that one. I commend you for all the stuff you're doing. The Reverend Bowen's Volunteer Committee has also created the annual Emancipation Proclamation Observance Day / Arizona official Black History Month event, now in its 6th year. That's something very notable. The Reverend Clyde Bowen was honored to deliver the invocation on the floor of the Arizona State Senate in 2016. Reverend Bowen is a current precinct committeeman in LD 28, and they have a very good precinct committeeman with you. The AARC believes in being American first. The AARC is committed to the proposition of inclusion, education, and action for a better Arizona. And I proudly introduce you to my guest, the guest of the Chips and Salsa show and Central City Radio, the Reverend Clyde Bowen.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for that. And starting out, should let you know that being that my mom is Portuguese, that makes me half Hispanic. So not only am I a pretty good American, but I'm feeling like I'm a hybrid. So thank you so much for having me. I wanted to start out by having a prayer, sort of an invocation. You know, as Houston got together and got themselves together, I started to pray for Houston because my brother lives there. My only brother lives in Houston, and I was worried about all the people in Houston, and being a human being, I was worried about my brother. I remember there was a miracle that happened in my hometown of Boston, and I wrote this prayer, and it was for Houston and the surrounding areas. So, you know, our prayers are going to go out to all of the folks. God doesn't have any borders, so God's concerned with the Mexican 8.1 quake. God's concerned with Hurricane Katia. God's concerned with Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Harvey is on the ground, and we still have Hurricane Jose to go. This is an opportunity for us, ladies and gentlemen. I would ask you to bow your heads and listen. I was raised in a real first-class snob city, Boston, in Massachusetts. We practically invented the better than syndrome. We thought our schools are better than yours, our sports teams are better than yours, even our patriotic history is better than yours. Most importantly, we are better than you. I, Clyde Bowen, went to the same school as Ben Franklin, and 4 signers of the Declaration of Independence. I was born 300 yards from the site of the Boston Massacre, where black Crispus Attucks was slain protesting British soldiers. The first person to die in the fight for American freedom. I even rolled over the spot in the Charles River where the original Tea Party dropped $3 million worth of tea in protest of the British occupation. You couldn't convince me that Boston didn't rule. We were proud, better than snobs. We were even better than each other. We used to have signs, no dogs or Irish allowed. If you were caught in the wrong neighborhood after dark, you could be jumped, hurt, or killed. Empathy Day. Well, Empathy Day was yesterday. Sorry you missed it. Boston, our nickname was Bean. We were the hub of the nation. But like so many cities, Boston's talk never matched Boston's walk. Then, I believe, God sent a killer winter blizzard to the Boston area. Bostonians died in the cars. Bostonians died on the freeways. Bostonians died in their homes. Bostonians died in the street, in the snow. People who had lived next to people for years and wouldn't be bothered to know them began to reach out to each other. They began to save each other. Boston began to change and finally to transform to being human. And this is my prayer for Houston, Florida, everywhere. There are those issues. Even India, they've lost 1,500 people in their flood. Now, someone remarked they were acting like real Texans over there in Houston. Well, I say, given that area's history, I would say they're acting like, quote unquote, real Americans, helping each other, caring, saving, serving. God bless the first, second, and third responders. And by the way, no one is pulling up in boats yelling, only Republicans get in, or only white people get in, or we'll take all the cute blondes. All God's children get to be saved. Hallelujah. Houston, American strong. God bless us. God test us to love one another, because the water's now, the fire next time if we fail. Amen.
Amen.
Well, that was
thank you.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Concerning that issue.
Thank
Yes.
you. What other? You were going to talk about another issue.
Well, certainly just let me give you a quick update on the ARC. And for folks who are not familiar, I am the state chairman of the Arizona American African Republican Committee, and we are the group that fancies themselves as being American first. It took us 3 years to become American first. I had to fight with my board. I had to fight with all of my members. They were so used to being African American, and they just fought me, and change is so difficult, and transformation is really, really hard. That's why I'm hoping that all the people that, like you said, Americans helping Americans, what a novel idea. So I wanted to just mention that we have been in existence for 22 years. We were founded by a lady named Dodie London. She was the state chairman of the state party, and she formed our group. She formed also, there was a Latin group. She formed an Asian group, and some of those folks are still around today, but we've been in existence, and what we're up to now is working on things like the Emancipation Proclamation Observance Day. We're very concerned with human trafficking. We're very concerned with labor trafficking. That's why I'm very interested in hearing Mrs. San Miguel and her comments on how she feels that we can go forward, how we can begin to talk to the Latin folks about why our story's better. Now, we're a group that's embedded in other groups. We're not one of those groups. We don't have to just listen to Rush Limbaugh. We have to listen to everybody, because when we talk to Democrats, we're the group that turns Democrats into Republicans. Some of you may remember, for, well, 80% of American history, black Americans were Republicans. Jackie Robinson, Jesse Owens, it goes on and on and on. And then there was something that happened, and we won't have time to go into that, but let us say that they moved away. They were seduced and abandoned by the Democrat Party. We know that's something that's been going on for many, many years with the Democrat Party. And so it'll be interesting to have us put a Republican in and have Republican values in the area where Mrs. San Miguel is going to be campaigning, because they need to hear our message. They need to hear what we're up to. I mean, two of the first 11 principles of Ronald Reagan. If you're a Ronald Reagan Republican, and many people are, I happen to be a Lincoln and a Reagan Republican. Faith, family. Well, there you go. With the Hispanic community, all about that faith. I was Catholic. I'm actually Christian non-denominational, but I was raised in the Catholic Church, Christian, confirmed. I was an altar boy. At the same time, I was a gang leader. Not too many people can say that. But that's how we roll in the inner cities. when you come out of church, you got to stay alive. So I did it all, but I was all deep into the church because my mom was, what I said, Portuguese. So, and family, we're all about that family, all about getting hundreds of people together and cooking up that food, and we all love that, and certainly on my father's side also. So we're up to a lot of interesting things, and one of the things that we're also up to is we love to have people talk to us about the Democrats and what's so great about the Democrats. And we always remind them it's all about us. The Republican Party, our first platform was a civil rights platform, by the way. You go back and you look at it, we're the ones that talk about rights all the time. That's what we're talking about now. We even stood up and defended some of the Klan members because they have rights, they have human beings. But President Trump said it best, and I want to mention Charlottesville just for a moment. He said there were issues on both sides. I'll have to remember that. I go around people all the time in the Valley, Republicans, the perfect human beings, no faults. I don't even know we have personal responsibility. I got into this because of personal responsibility. When I saw personal responsibility on the Republican principle thing, count this brother in. I get to take all the credit for what I do. I don't need affirmative action, just open the door and I can go and get it myself. So I'm looking at us and saying that God is perfect, and maybe we need to work on it, and maybe President Trump is right. You know, everybody's talking about slavery and these issues and these statues, and there's slaves buried in the Bronx in New York. And so while we stomp on the South, we let the North get away. And they had their issues. I already told you, after 9 o'clock, if you went across a boulevard called Morrissey Boulevard in Boston, and you happen to be black, and that's an Irish area, your life could be taken. If you went into South Boston, which was Italian, and you were caught in the wrong place, you might be Irish, you might be black. You're an Italian, you could be done. Those are the things I think we need to get away from. Pride always goes before the fall. I'm not going to get real religious because of who I am, but we always know that. Now, I see an opportunity in God sending these storms for us to get together. And not just America, we should care about Mexico, our neighbors to the south. We have some issues. We're talking about the wall. They're human beings. We're human beings. They need our love. We need their love. That's what God teaches us. That's what God instructs us to do. Now, I know it's us against them a lot, but I would once again say that if for a moment, and that moment would be next February when we do the Emancipation Proclamation Observance Day, and we'll give you the day. I tell everyone, we're going to be here for a couple of hours. Democrats, Republicans, independents, no preference. People who showed up and don't know where they are. Everybody gets to come in, right? And we treat them all like Americans. I said, for 2 hours, you're going to experience the glory of what it means to be an American in this country. Then you go back to hating each other like you want to do afterwards. But right now, we're going to be American. Everyone seems to care about that. So I extend an invitation to all of you for Emancipation Proclamation Observance Day 6, which has become a tradition that they said would never last. Lastly, if we have a moment, 1 minute.
1 minute.
Now I'll talk about it maybe if I get in the next second. Margaret Sanger. She went to MIT in Boston, but she stood behind the door when they gave out human rights because she didn't seem to do much for anybody other than wanting to kill off black people. You know, her motto was less Negroes, great idea. So we're going to talk a little bit maybe about her in the next segment because she has a bust in the Smithsonian Institute, and while we're talking about removing monuments as if that's the answer's in our heart, ladies and gentlemen. God's directing us to look at ourselves, to look into our heart. You know, we didn't even know those things were up there. Now they make a big deal out of them. That's not going to change people. We're going to have to change one another.
So that, I know we're going to come back to that when we come back from our break. But you're listening to the Chips and Salsa Show on CentralCityRadio.com, King FM, and also we're live streaming on YouTube under the Sonia Salsa S, and under Facebook, the Chips and Salsa Show. Stay tuned. We're going to continue right after this a commercial break. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to come right back. Keep on that topic. And this is going to be the third segment? The third segment, okay. And then we'll bring Edna San Miguel in before we leave the segment and bring her back in the fourth segment. We're going to bring the Prather point on this segment.
2 minutes, so
he's going to finish his
Yeah, just
topic.
take a couple of minutes with Margaret and plus
and then
one more thing.
and then we go into the Prather point. Is that
It's interesting that you did.
yeah, what you have to do is probably combine Prather and One Truth. And
okay? We'll end with the one truth. Let me find
so
my.
basically, right after Prather, you just say that was Prather point.
Oh yeah.
All right,
like
say you know,
project I
sponsor
learned
the
about it.
segment is One Truth, and
After
go
the
through
Prather,
that.
okay. I just don't know the
Yes.
topic he's going to be
Yes,
talking about, so
it's
kind of.
That's
it's
about
a sore
Pakistan
sticking
ploys.
point with
What?
us
The
because
title
of who
was
she is and what we've
Pakistan
known.
Ploys.
And I happen to
Ploys?
see in the paper,
So I don't know
wow,
what.
wow,
Is
now
someone
we
on
go to
Pakistan
school in
now?
Boston,
I
I
haven't been following.
Well,
I
we'll
had
just
no idea.
we'll let it play. We'll let it play, and then
Yeah, she,
we'll let it play. Then I'll go into a one truth,
yes.
and then
Yes.
with the time left, because he's going to go first. But then with the time left, then I'll bring Edna in,
Margaret's saying
and
it.
I'll
I
watch for your
saw it.
1 minute thing,
I
and
did
I'll
not
just
know
say.
that. I saw it in the
No, we're gonna do all the Prather
Yeah,
and One
yeah, she
Truth
got
will
it
be at
86.
the end of the segment.
At the end of the segment. Okay, you give me.
Nah, that's
When
not
to
called
So I
start.
wanna give you like
Go like this, and then I'll know Prather point is coming. Okay.
But yeah, I found that out. So then I started
4
to look at
minutes,
her life,
okay,
and I
so-
heard about
And then-
her.
Prather usually
And then I
was 2 to
heard
3
about
minutes.
Ruth
Hang on,
Ginsburg
hang on.
when she said the eugenics thing. I thought
3
we
minutes, so
eliminating
Prather's
these
3
people.
minutes.
She got caught.
One truth.
So I'm gonna give you the 5-minute sign, and then that means okay,
Introduce Prather.
Prather. So how can we do that? We got 1 minute now. I'll tell you what. I'll give you the 1 minute sign to wrap up before we go into Prather.
Before, okay.
And then when Prather's over, then you
One
can
truth.
say, okay, that was Prather point. Now the statement, this whatever I wrote
It's
that.
brought to you by the one
And then
truth.
I'll play the One Truth.
And then we'll end with that into.
We'll end with that. You do the close out. That was One Truth. Get it on iTunes. Food Rat with more chips and salsa.
Okay, so. Okay, and then we're
So
gonna
I'm
bring
still
you
just
in.
gonna
as soon
give
as
you the
you
1 minute sign. So don't go
Okay.
for a 4. I'm gonna give you still a 1
Right.
minute sign.
Now, how many minutes do we have for this segment? Total?
13,
Okay.
14, something like
Okay,
that.
so we'll.
You'll have time. Just
And then I wanna near the end, on our last segment, then I'll bring Clyde Bowen in near the end so he can introduce his websites and all that. So
at the, end,
people can,
at the end of the show.
near the end of the show, yeah.
Okay.
And then it says here the music for the Texas Hope Song.
You don't want to do that. You don't have to.
I'd rather
10
have an
seconds.
analysis here. Okay, 10 seconds. We're going to be on the air.
Yeah, you're on now.
Because like my dad's Latino and my mom is white, does that mean I can only listen to like half of Chips and Salsa?
That's the smartest thing I've ever heard anyone say about anything.
Welcome back to your Chips and Salsa show. This is Jorge El Alacran, and we have two great guests, the Reverend Clyde Bowen, and also Edna San Miguel, who's running for Congress, and I'll introduce her in a minute. We're going to finish with the thought that we had with the Reverend Clyde Bowen. It's yours.
Certainly, we were talking about Margaret Sanger. I would invite everyone to go and find out more information about Margaret Sanger. I would invite everyone to go crack a history book, go online and find out a lot about American history. I don't know why that we don't revere American history. As I mentioned, having gone to the oldest public high school in the United States of America, I was drenched in history in Boston, and I ran out of Boston when I went into the service and found so many people that knew absolutely nothing about our great, great country. So rather than let people tell you, maybe you want to crack a book and find out about a person like Margaret Sanger, who was involved in the eugenics movement. The eugenics movement has been around for a while. Hitler got onto it and decided we didn't need any more Jews and went on a genocidal path. We've seen it in Africa. We've seen it in many, many countries. We've seen it in the Bible. Well, Margaret Sanger comes along and decides that she's going to apply some of the ideas that Hitler had to the black population and begin to talk about birth control, which was something that rich people could do back in the day. I saw a movie in 1916 called Where Are My Children? It had to do with the upper class women who didn't want to have children, so they went to abortionists. Well, poor people couldn't afford to go to abortionists. So if Margaret Sanger did anything, she made it so the average person could get an abortion. But the average person turned out to be a person of color, perhaps someone dark, someone Mexican, someone black, someone Latin, someone other than. And that's actually what was behind that. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, POTUS, not POTUS, but a Supreme Court Justice. Supreme Court Justice talked about that. You might look up her eugenics remarks that she happened to say one time, and I guess maybe she didn't think people were listening to her. They spun it, but it's still important. Margaret Sanger has a bust in the Smithsonian Institute. We don't think it deserves to be there. That's what we want to say about Margaret Sanger. I just want to finish up with a little bit of lightness as we go into the next segment. I've given folks the Arizona American African Republican Committee Black Inventors list. This is directly to you folks out there who you may know are white supremacists, Klan members, et al. I'll start off with ice cream. Augustus Jackson, a black man, invented ice cream. You don't get to have ice cream anymore. If I go up to a car and I see a white supremacist getting into that Ford, I'll say, wait a minute, Richard Spikes, a mud person, he's the one that created the automatic transmission. You don't want to be in that car. And of course, air conditioning was invented by a black man named Frederick Jones. So these guys need to cut down that air conditioning. So my point, facetiously, is that all people and all Americans of all colors and backgrounds have made a contribution to this country. So I doubt very seriously if we're planning on replacing any of you, because none of us folks want to go down to your shop or to your, wherever you might be, your tire shop, and mess with your particular job. So the clothes dryer, the wrench, the cellular phone. You know, y'all can't get on the cellular phone and talk about how you hate black people and Jews, because Henry T. Sampson, a black man, invented that phone. So we'll be working very, very hard to get you folks to get away from all of the things that we did that makes the world such a great, great place, including the Super Soaker. So put down that Super Soaker.
So we're going to get rid of a lot of things. We're going to get rid of the Abraham Lincoln Monument, the Washington Monument. There's so many monuments we got to get rid of, and it's getting ridiculous, people. I want to introduce a candidate that's running against Raul Grijalva, and as for Congress, and from Tucson, the renowned Edna San Miguel. We're going to keep Clyde Bowen here for backup because he might have some questions here. And with you, you bring your ambassador for your campaign ambassador, and what's your name?
Tawny Gonzalez.
Tawny?
Uh-huh.
Tawny Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you
And
for having us.
you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Edna San Miguel, and I'm running for a congressional seat in District 3 against Raul Grijalva. I ran this last term as well in 2016, and you all must have heard the horror stories that went on there. Well, it doesn't stop. But I'm more than game to get it back in there and remove Grijalva from the seat, and that's going to be happening in 2018, I guarantee.
Amen. And now, how is your candidacy going? You may bring back your radio program again.
Definitely.
You're trying to do that,
Yes.
And I know your campaign ambassador. She's watching your back this time. So you have people watching your back. These people are going to come and hit you with everything they got. They're the Democratic Party. They're not going to stop, and they're going to try to stop you at every point. They did that to other candidates to run for the same office that you're running for.
Right.
and you know, we know that you have strength. You have that.
Yes.
You got that fighting Hispanic, Latina blood in you.
Barriolista, I'm coming straight out of the Barrio Hollywood of Tucson, you bet. And you know, I knew about Grijalva and his socialist agenda and communist agenda back in high school. I just didn't know to what degree. I was in high school and his La Raza students came up to me and asked me to join the Communist Party, and I didn't know what all that entailed. So I went to my father, and my father is a Republican, he is a veteran with the Korean War, and he said to me, when I had said to him, they've asked me to join this Communist Party. He said, and he looked at me with those eyes, and he said, "You're not joining any Communist Party whatsoever. You're going to run for homecoming queen," he said.
Oh.
So I ran for homecoming queen, and yes, I won that year. But in all seriousness, our country is in a lot of trouble. And I'm very serious this term. And I learned quite a bit this last election.
Because it's hard running.
It was a hard run.
Running as a candidate in Congress.
Yes.
And I know it's hard. It
Yes.
takes a lot of strength, inner strength,
Right.
and outer strength, and you have to be strong. And I know the Republican Party watches all the candidates, and they try to pick the candidates that are most likely the strongest. So you have to come out strong. You have to come out fighting. Put those gloves on like Rocky. And we're going to bring you back in the next segment because we're going to, you guys still have about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, great, awesome. So, yeah, strong, definitely. I do have support now. I have support that is a very quiet support, let's just say at this point. I don't disclose anything and everything like I did the last time. I've learned quite a bit. There's a strategy that is going on. I am getting support coming in from Washington, D.C. now. That's a very good thing.
Good.
And yes, we make sacrifices to be able to run through these positions. I've had to sacrifice because of where I'm at. And I sold my home in Green Valley, Arizona. I've moved 3 times since then. I feel like I'm still in college. But we're going to get through it. Our Constitution is the most important piece of paper.
Okay, how's your son doing? I want to just say.
He's doing great.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a junior at the University of Arizona now, and thank you.
Okay, we're gonna come right back. We're gonna go to our Prather point right now. He's a weekly radio segment that we have. So right now, I turn it to our board op, who's gonna introduce our Prather point.
You're going to introduce the
Oh, I'll introduce our Prather point.
Government insider, now living outside the box, speaking truth to power.
Yeah,
On the Chips and Salsa Show with this week's Prather point. First, pray for Florida.
You can.
Second, Pakistan employees. President Trump is offering $255 million.
I do which one you are.
Yes.
With the caveat that they must stop covering and supporting
crank it to your
and terrorists. Remember, Osama bin Laden was hidden in plain sight in Pakistan. Why is he doing this? Well, he's trying to repair the damage that is probably done through
Don't forget,
espionage
George, when you come
by
back.
the Dems.
That was
Remember back in
point.
July
Then
that
read your
Debbie
thing.
Wasserman Schultz and other Democratic
And you
Congress
can say too, we'll be back with more of Edna San Miguel, more of her thoughts and
from
whatever.
Pakistan were arrested for bank fraud of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mainly that was Irwan Awan and his family. He was paid millions of dollars. He had access to Democratic servers for years. Many of the family members, such as his wife, never actually showed up to work. And they were not cleared to have access to these servers. And the Dems that they had access to were on the Intelligence and Homeland Security committees. What is this? Well, in an intelligence world, we call this espionage. But, of course, it is not being played as that. They are only right now investigating for bank fraud, even though there are Republican congressmen and senators calling for further investigation. Meanwhile, the ridiculous Trump-Russia scandal, which there's nothing to it, is taken to new heights. Why? Because Debbie Wasserman Schultz, when her emails were hacked because of this, where she was showing favoritism to Hillary, blamed it on, wait for it, the Russians. So this fits into the complete left-wing socialist script that when reality doesn't fit what's happening, you have to change reality to follow the script. This is the reason for the Trump-Russian scandal fiasco, to cover the Dems' Pakistan espionage scandal. The left always accuses you of whatever they are doing. So, pay attention to this. Also, contact your representatives and demand that Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Dems be investigated for
All right, 15
espionage.
seconds, George.
Okay.
If you're interested, I have a ladies self-defense class coming up October 29th in Tucson. And you can go to warriorschool.com for more information on that. This is Jeff Prather
All right,
on the
stand by.
Gypsy Salsa Show. This week's Prather.
Okay, and we're going to come back with Edna San Miguel and also the Reverend Clyde Bowen. He has a few questions to ask. But before that, I want to introduce the sponsor for this segment is One Truth. Here's their song called Inferno.
Should have started a little earlier. Turn it up. You want to hear some more? You talking about on air or in here? Oh, for the YouTube? Dang, I should have started earlier though. All right, stand by, George. Go.
And Inferno is burning inside of all of us. Yes, sir. That's the One Truth. That was One Truth with Inferno with J.C. Gonzalez. You can get the song from iTunes. They're on iTunes with also many other songs that they have. But Inferno is the one I love the best, and it was their first song, and it is one of their hits. We'll be back with more of the Chips and Salsa show in a little while. Okay, when we come back
In a little while.
segment, I'll make sure that we get Edna San Miguel to say a few words, and then we're going to go right to you to ask some questions, and then we're just going to go from there. I want to introduce our guest for next week. That's going to be, I'll do that near the end here. Yeah, let me know when we have like 2 minutes, because I want to. How many minutes do we have on this last segment?
I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes. Like I should probably cut out. I'm gonna do 2 minutes in this set, so I will give you like another extra 2 minutes.
Okay, so altogether.
Yeah, you'll be fine. I'll make sure you get enough.
Okay, because I want to introduce Chris Henry, who's going to be our guest next week.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Chairman of the ACR, and Helen Purcell is supposed to be here too. So those two should be good guests. I want to make sure I introduce that segment so they can have this one.
Yeah, they got
All right, 1 minute. 1 minute.
dinner coming up.
But don't want to leave your best
Yeah,
friend
we're
on the cage in some
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, we're gonna be
Rover is your
there.
one-stop shop
And that's
for
on the
loving,
22nd.
trustworthy
I
dog
think so,
sitters near
yeah.
you. It's a
my-
free online service that connects you with a nationwide network of dog lovers
This is
for
great,
life.
Doc, by the
Just
way.
go
Thank
to
you so much. You're doing a great job, too.
comeonover.rover.com. In seconds,
George is
you'll
holding
be
it down.
browsing
I'm not used to being
He stays awake when he's holding it down.
I didn't write notes.
It's just him. He's awake.
I've been working so hard.
It's all good.
You can hit
Learn
the
the
road
regular
handy,
job.
knowing
I'm
your
working
dog
like
will be treated like
graveyard
family.
shift,
Plus,
so
every stay is
I
covered
hardly
by
have time
premium
to
insurance and
do my notes and
24/7
stuff because I
support.
usually
Now
have a little
that's
business
peace
that
of
I can
mind.
do
Go to
during the day.
comeonover.rover.com
So I do like
right
maybe
now
4 hours
and get
sleep.
your dog's
Luckily,
first night free.
today I was supposed to be at the
value.
at
So
the
join
brunch
hundreds
and
of
I
thousands
missed the
of
brunch,
dogs.
folks.
All right, 10 seconds. 10
That's how I-
seconds, George.
It's
Okay.
easy.
Okay.
And your first night is free. Go to comeonover.rover.com. That's comeonover.rover.com.
Which of the Latin countries are you from? The one with the civil war, the one with the cocaine, or the one with the fancy hats?
I think I'm the one with the fancy hat today, you know, my little cruising hat from the Arizona Cardinals. the Bruce Arians hat. I really, really like this hat. I only wear it on certain occasions. This is Jorge El Alacran with the Chips and Salsa Show. And I have a good step-in co-host today, the Reverend Clyde Bowen here, and he's assisting me. And we have our guest here. One of our guests is the candidate for Congress, Edna San Miguel. And we're going to let her say a few more words before we pepper her with questions, and we got questions.
So thank you for having me back, George. You know, I spent a lot of time with you all this last election, and you've all been so kind and generous with your time and your support, and I just appreciate everything that you've done for us here. This is a serious race, folks. This is a serious candidate. This is not a beauty queen contest. This is not anything else, as I mentioned earlier. This is really about our country and saving our nation and protecting our people. And that's what I intend to do. And yes, I can say these things, but I can also back it. So I hope to share some more of that later today in this show.
What is your website, so everybody knows?
All right. So you want to look me up at sanmiguelforcongress.com. Very simple, sanmiguelforcongress.com. Also on my website, you're able to go ahead if you're in a District 3 residence and you are Republican or Independent. I need you to please get on there, and we have an online signature petition, and I'd love to have you there to support me and sign that petition so I can get my name on that ballot. We also have a donation link as well, and I will greatly appreciate every support that I have coming in to roll this campaign and keep it going. It is snowballing now. I am getting a great deal of support. On Facebook, you can find me at San Miguel, and I have over 2,000 Facebook friends now that are following and just giving me some great support and ideas. Thank you. There's more to come, a great deal more.
And what are your views about what's happening in Texas, Florida?
Right. Well, being that my mother's from the Texas area as well, from Eagle Pass, and she has quite a history there. We actually have Reverend Texas Confederates in our family. So we have that, and we have Union family as well.
You are forgiven.
We have Union coming in from Boston. We have quite a history. I did some research this recently. And we just have to continue to raise them in prayer. I'm just wondering if the Father, the Lord, the Heavenly Father, is wanting us as a nation to repent. Can you imagine having Hillary as our president right now today? Where would we be? We would be in a complete mess. So we're very blessed to have President Trump with us. And before he just became our president, were we all not on our knees praying? Were we all not gathering together to see that he does come through, and that the Father did bless us with that? And so we have to continue to do that. We have to continue to stay close to God as a nation, because this is an God-inspired nation, and no one's going to touch us. We're going to be just fine.
And then what message, if there's one message that you have to give to your constituents in Tucson and outside of Tucson regarding your candidacy versus Grijalva, what would they see as a change?
Okay.
And then, briefly, because we have questions for you.
Okay, great. I would not commit treason.
Ooh.
When I say the oath in Congress, it's the oath. It's my heart. I will not commit treason. I will not represent any other country than the United States of America.
Thank you. Reverend, I know you have a slew of questions. So.
Well, I'm not going to go down the treason road because I have some feelings about the Confederacy and their position. But like I said, we should move on and be Americans. Now, when I talk to the people I want to talk to in the black community, and they start giving me a lot of mishigas, which is craziness about who they are, and they're the Democrats this, and they're the Democrats that, I say, talk to the hand, and hand got two words for you: South Side Chicago. So I would say that South Side Chicago is the shame of the Democrat Party. It's the shame of Obama. It's Obama's backyard. If you people who don't know that, they had 800 homicides last year, PTSD in the children, and it's called Chirac by the people who live there. So I would say, Edna, what do you say to Democrats in Tucson to turn them around?
What I say is they have a winning chance with me. There is hope with my candidacy and my win that's coming up in 2018. what's happened in Tucson is it's been used as a petri dish of sort, a scientific, experiment on socialism. They chose us. We lived in it. For the longest time, I couldn't understand why I couldn't get further than what I was able to with my education at the University of Arizona. And I started to see that there was a certain population of people that were moving ahead. May have had less education, but for some reason, we were just not moving and doing. What's happened in Tucson over the years, under the Grijalva administration, is that they have convinced the people there that they are now in a poverty mentality. We are not to be of poverty mentality. We are Americans. We are citizens of the United States. We are inventors. We are engineers. We have great ideas. Mothers at home who are taking care of their family have wonderful business ideas. Why are we not there helping mothers, single mothers, married couples with ingenuity, their ideas? We need to be able to look at this as possible jobs. We want that freedom. And by the way, Americans, citizens of the United States, we love choices. We want to have choices on our health insurance. We don't want to just be bound to one or two items to choose from. We want to have the freedom to choose. And that's what I'm fighting for today. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Just one more follow-up question, because with the issue of DACA and the Dreamers, regardless of how you might feel about that, and we all have our feelings about that, I am of the feeling that if I was forced to go anywhere and didn't want to go, and then I grew up there, that they might figure out a way for me to find my way home. My home being America, by the way. I actually agree with what President Trump said. Let's take the 6 months. Let's let the do-nothing Congress finally do something. I wonder what you might say to that, Edna San Miguel.
Well, it's good to see our Congress back at work, I have to say. Let's just see. I just love the idea that the heat's under their feet. Let's just see what they decide, how they deliberate. I would like to actually physically be there to listen to the arguments on what they're going to do with DACA. We have established American laws in this country. DACA children came in with their parents who are illegal parents. Now, I've seen how they've come through the border. They're inside trunks of vehicles. They are trekking through hot deserts. Many of them die. Bottom line, they're breaking the law. Bottom line, we have established laws that they're breaking. And this, I blame the Obama administration. They've disrespected and mocked our laws in our country. And what President Trump is doing now is he's putting that back in place. And now we have this dilemma. We have this problem. It's not our problem. It's the problem of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is the problem of Grijalva, who has a sanctuary city opened in Tucson. Others here in the Phoenix area.
And then you may be part of this Congress. You may be
yes,
part.
Yes, sir. I intend to be in Congress. Yes,
and
sir.
You will have to be one of the ones making the decision.
Yes, sir.
Like the Reverend said, a lot of these kids didn't come here for any fault of their own, but they've had work, they've gone to college. Some of them even were able to join the military. I don't know how, but my question is, I know that it's going to be up to Congress, but there's solutions that can be taken that would help, but not also help the parents, because that's where the problems come in. And I'm going to make this real quick because we're running out of time. I need you to give us finally your website again, where people can contact you, and then we're going to go back to the Reverend Clyde Bowen for his thing, for his information.
So my website is sanmiguelforcongress.com, sanmiguelforcongress.com. And I do want to say something about DACA. And these students actually were educated under the Mexican-American Studies terrorist curriculum. And so where are their hearts? These are students that want to stay in their country, but do they have an allegiance to our American flag, our way of living as Americans, or is it still Mexico that they root for?
Yeah, to me, they all have to take that oath.
Right.
That's bottom line. Okay, Reverend, if you want to give the...
sure. Let me just mention to the folks, my prayer is on #GoToArk. Facebook, we're on Facebook. We've got a lot of information, including the the prayer. Once again, you mentioned where people could go. Check out CharityWatch.com. You want to make sure your money's going to the right place. And we know we have the Red Cross and those people in there, but there's a lot of scam organizations. CharityWatch.com tells you where your money goes. And also remember, on Monday it is 9/11. We want to pray. We want to remember. We want to stay united. Now that we're united by this storm, we don't want to do anything else. I'm so honored to have been here. God bless all of you. I am so happy to be with you. Thank you, George. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, my man.
And we want you to come back and be on our show again.
I hope you'll have me back. Thank you.
We'll have Alice take care of that.
Thank you, Alice.
Our show,
Thank you so much.
our show next week is going to be the chairman of the County Republican Committee, Chris Herring. Hopefully he'll be here and be able to be on our show, because things change and sometimes schedules change. Also, we're trying to get Helen Purcell's here as a guest, and again, that's tentative if it meets her schedule. Alice will be here. I'll be here. We'll have the whole crew, and you see a different view here, and you're going to continue seeing changes here. And tune in next week for the Chips and Salsa show on CentralCityRadio.com, King FM, and on Facebook live streaming, and on YouTube under Sonia Salsa S. And don't forget our website, www.chipssalsashow.com. Thank you all for tuning in, and we had a great show with the Reverend Clyde Bowen and the candidate for Congress, Edna San Miguel. Thank you, and tune in next week. Bye.
All right. Yay.
That's a wrap.
Good.
Alice does this so smoothly.
Excellent.
Wow.
But this is good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And we will.
Thank you.
Yes,
Great to
absolutely.
meet you.
We're going to have you back too,
We'll be
Edna,
friends.
because
Stay in touch
Yes,
with
sir.
each
Thank
other.
you.
We have a home
we're
in
gonna have you
Bisbee, so
back.
I go down through Tucson all the time.
Please stop on
We have a
your
summer
call.
home. We go up to
Thank
Bisbee.
you.
Yeah, we're gonna have you back again, Edna.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
And hopefully we'll get your radio show up and running so that
Well,
the people of Tucson will hear your voice constantly, because that's what they need. They need
Yes.
it hammered in.
Yeah,
They need to get all your views.
Yes.
And I love the show that you had before, because you were down to earth. It was like you talking to Tucson.
Yeah.
And it was so
we're going to do more of that. We're going to do more of that.
And on
we'll be at the
Facebook
border.
and-
We'll be all over District 3, in the streets, on the corners, talking
Does
to
anybody
folks.
want to get a picture with President Trump on the tank?
Oh yeah, this
Oh, heck yeah.
this,
That's for
we can do it on the
Alice.
probably from the window here or back here.
Whatever works. And then I'll leave that for Alice. And just some
They
great
want all
background.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot, that's the only thing about putting that there is right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It messes up the